All right, once again, Andre Iguodala coming up big in the biggest moments last night in Game 2, doing any number of different things the Warriors desperately needed. You see him there. You don't want him to take that shot. They're giving it to him. He's going to find an open Steph Curry for a better shot. The nature of Steph Curry taking it makes it a better shot. Now, here's a bad moment for Iguodala. Watch him here. He's going to run into a hard screen by Marcus Gasol. Someone call that out, please. Iguodala would temporarily leave the game, but he would return, of course, because he would wind up knocking down two huge shots. Here's the first with DeMarcus Cousins leading the break. That's Iguodala in the corner. He knocks it down to give the Warriors a 5-point lead. And now with 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter, here's the big play of the game. They keep the possession alive. Iguodala decides to take it from there. They were daring him to do it. He's open for a reason, but in this case, he takes and makes the shot that wins Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Remember, he is a former Finals MVP, and he makes the biggest shot of the night last night. And as we told you earlier, over the last 5 years, Andre Iguodala has the highest plus-minus of any player in the NBA Finals. Not Steph Curry, not Klay Thompson, not Draymond Green. Iggy is plus 164 in the finals during this stretch. Let's talk about it more. Let's go live to Toronto. Look who's with us. The one, the only, Jalen Rose is ready to go. And Jalen, I'm not finding any friends here with my belief that the Raptors made a decision not fouling on that last possession and instead deciding to play defense. What was your take on the way that the Raptors defensively handled the possession that ultimately ended in Iguodala making the shot?
Good morning, Greeny. A couple of things. If you're Nick Nurse and you want the team to foul Draymond Green, you got to actually let them know that before they take the floor. You can't allow Draymond Green to now catch the ball, and then you telling them to go foul him while everybody gets discombobulated, and all of a sudden your defense breaks down. What they did a good job of the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game, Jay Will, DJ, y'all gonna appreciate this term. They're basically playing a boxing one against Steph Curry. And all of us are gonna judge the result, but Andre Iguodala had not been making shots. I see the plus-minus numbers. You want him to have the shot, you just don't want him to be that bare and that wide open. So if you're the Toronto Raptors, play straight up D. Deny Steph, play the percentages, run late at Andre Iguodala, and you live with the result. Fortunately for the Golden State Warriors, he actually knocked down the big shot.
Once again, no one agrees with me. Further proof that my genius will not be fully appreciated until after it's time. Okay, let's go on in the series. Jalen, huge win for the Warriors. I know you believe that Draymond was a big reason for it. Why is that?
Because, Greeny, he represents a level of leadership, toughness, and tenacity that doesn't always show up in the box score. It's one thing to say you're going to cut Pascal Siakam's water off after he has 32 points. It's another thing when he's guarding him in Game 2 for him to go 0 for 6. But also give you the offense, 17 points. Give you the rebounds, 10 of them. Give you the dimes, 9 of them. And also a couple of block shots. Late in the fourth quarter, he was guarding multiple people, including Kawhi Leonard, and actually got 2 steals late. So Draymond, whether the ebbs and flows were happening in the game, he was a consistent Golden State Warrior. Steph had a first quarter. Klay had a second quarter. Boogie had his moments throughout the game, and he had a double-double. But Draymond Green was the consistent Golden State Warrior that helped drive their victory.
And they're dropping like flies around him. So let's talk about Klay Thompson here. He doesn't play the last 8 minutes. He's got a hamstring. Laura pointed out we saw him with the ice on that leg after the game is over. Now he's got to travel, and we'll see what the MRI says. What is your amateur doctor's take on what you see in that injury and what impact it's going to have?
Being born in 1973, Greeny, I always had irrational confidence like I was going to the NBA. So I used to sign my autographs Dr. J even when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I would not play Klay Thompson in the next game because you got to anticipate a long series. You can't put him back out there. We saw this happen with Andre Iguodala. He got hurt, and then at the end of the first game, he was hobbled. You got to allow Klay to get back 100%. That's why winning this game is so very important. You don't have to be pressed. You want him to be at full strength. He has to guard Kawhi Leonard. He has to be a knockdown shooter with the Splash Brothers. And I know Andre Iguodala made a big-time shot. But you living with that. You want Draymond Green to shoot threes. If you were in the arena, people not talking about the fact that the Toronto Raptors were on a 10-0 run to close the game. And the only shot that the Golden State Warriors made was the one that Andre Iguodala hit. So we can't act like what the Raptors were doing late didn't work. You just got to give him credit for stepping up and making the shot.
I'm completely with you. That's such an incredibly important point, and we brought it up a little bit earlier here as well, and that is that where they are in the series now plays such a huge role in the way the Warriors can handle this. If they're down 2-0, you've got to put Klay on the floor if he can walk, and you've got to put KD on the floor if he can walk. But now that they're 1-1 and they have a little wiggle room, do you expect to see either of those guys Wednesday night?
I do not expect to see either of those guys. Based on exactly what you just said, I love the ebbs and flows of NBA playoff basketball. I remember a gentleman named Damon Jones who felt like the Toronto Raptors would lose in the first round to the Orlando Magic, okay? Now they're in the NBA Finals. So each time somebody wins or loses a game, everybody overreacts. The Toronto Raptors, I said, would win this series in 7. I anticipate a long series. So therefore, you can't rush KD, you can't rush Klay because you got game 2 on the road.
All right, we have agreement on that, and DJ is appropriately hanging his head in shame.
Hey, Jalen.
All right, Jalen, I want to run the floor, take you through a couple of other storylines from last night. Golden State using a 20-0 run, 18-zip to start the third quarter. What stood out most to you?
What stood out the most to me is the Golden State Warriors, Greeny, went on a historic run that we had not seen, yet each of those buckets were assisted. They played like champions, but they also played desperate. The third quarter Warriors are the 31st NBA basketball team. Everybody knows when they come out after the break, they find ways to get clicking. They were giving up good shots to get great shots. They were cutting. Give DeMarcus Cousins a lot of credit with his high post action, scoring double figures, but also dropping a couple of dimes. And then Quinn Cook, you got to give him credit, right wing threes. He made a couple of those. His confidence was high, and they really needed his productivity, especially the way Klay went down during the game.
There you see some pictures of Steph Curry, who did not have a particularly efficient night, but at times it felt like he was playing a little bit all by himself. So Steph, we'll see how he is going forward to Wednesday. They'll need him to play a huge game. Then let's segue over on the other side to Kawhi Leonard. He had 34 points, but it took 20 shots. What did you see from him in the loss?
I see Kawhi Leonard basically out there playing like a warrior, no pun intended, because he doesn't have the lift that I'm normally used to seeing. Early in the playoffs, you remember when he would drive to the bucket and dunk over Joel Embiid like it wasn't nothing, or dunk over Giannis Antetokounmpo? In 2 games, he hasn't had a dunk. He's playing below the rim. He's looking for contact. He's going east, he's going west. He's sticking out his knees, he's sticking out his elbows. He's actually fighting through what I can tell is a hobble superstar player.
All right, Jalen, describe for America what was going on here in Canada.
I was living my best life. You know, I got a passport. It has a lot of tattoos on it. I played 3 years in Toronto. I'm fortunate enough to have love here. And that's a lot of trust right there because crowd surfing is cultural. So I had to think about this a couple of times if I really wanted to try to do this. And I can't front. I didn't want anybody to touch my hair, and then somebody put a hat on me. Somebody else was trying to pull my pants down. Somebody else was reaching in my pocket. Somebody else was tickling me. But the other 19,000 people did nothing but show love. So I was really happy about the opportunity to be able to crowd surf.
Living your best life.
I appreciate your calling it cult.
We're back on Get Up, and if you're a Raptors fan or if you're Drake, avert your eyes right here. Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors trying to go up 2-0 in the finals in the third quarter is where we pick it up, and it was not pretty. Kawhi missing the 3 there, and then later the Raptors trailing 63-59, beating Marc Gasol, but that doesn't work out. Open 3 there, and so it would continue. It was not their quarter, but to be fair, the Warriors always do this. They come alive in the third quarter, and now on a 16-0 run, Siakam trying to get it done there. They're not able to do it, and Draymond with the ball on the other end gets that lay-in to go. So the Raptors start the third 0 for 8 from field goal. Raptors lose.
It pretty much won us the game because we established our defensive presence We got stops, and everybody got involved in the offensive end. And when you come to the timeout after a couple runs like that, everybody feels good, and the vibe is just solid. And we know that we've taken control of the momentum, and then it's just about sustaining it, down the stretch.
I feel like it just really killed us. You know what I mean? 18-0 run. If we can't score no baskets, you're not gonna win no game.
Yeah, so the Warriors have outscored the Raptors by 16 points in the third quarter of this series. They're minus 20 in all others. Toronto outscored the Warriors in the first, second, and fourth quarters in games 1 and 2. So now let's welcome in three-time NBA champion Bruce Bowen to hit on game 2. And let's start with what you saw from the Warriors, especially in that third quarter. What worked so well for them against the Raptors, as it just looks like the Raptors didn't have an answer for them there?
Well, first and foremost, it's what championship caliber teams do. That third quarter is crucial. When you go into that locker room at halftime, you go over a litany of things as far as what you want to improve upon. And that was getting after it defensively, not allowing them to feel comfortable in the half court. And that's exactly what you saw. Each time a drive was made, you saw a hand up. You didn't see guys able to get to certain spots in a nonchalant way. The Golden State Warriors extended their defense and turned up the pressure. I know sometimes during the course of a regular season, guys just think like, hey, we can get back to it. It'll be all right. But in the playoffs, and especially in the finals, it's so important to pay attention to detail and follow the game plan you guys have set forward. They didn't do a good job of that in game 1, but you saw in game 2, there was a sense of urgency with the Golden State Warriors that you did not see with the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, it felt like a big part of that sense of urgency came from Boogie Cousins. Bruce, he got the start last night and was able to play nearly 28 minutes. What stood out to you about Boogie as we start running the floor here? Bruce, take it away.
It just shows you how talented Boogie is as far as not just being down low on the block, but he's an anchor for the Golden State Warriors. And within the past 5 championships, you've never seen anybody for the Warriors that had an inside presence, someone that they could throw the ball to and feel such comfort as far as him making the right play. Boogie is not a selfish player. He's a player that understands and he has a high IQ of the game. You see on these drives, you see on the finding the open man in transition. Those aren't things you can necessarily get from anybody down low. So when you have a player like Boogie that can find the open man, but let alone create his own shot down low on the block, it creates controversy for the Toronto Raptors.
How about Steph Curry, who we're seeing here on the screen, Bruce? He didn't start out as well, but was able to get some stuff going later.
Two-time MVP understands when exactly is the right time for his moment. You don't see Curry searching out for his shots like in the first half. He was calm, cool, and collected, even though it was more ado about his feeling healthy as far as feeling sluggish and things of that nature. But he's a two-time MVP. He's going to get things going the right way.
Okay, what about Kawhi Leonard? Speaking of health and just the workload, what are you seeing from him?
What I saw was a player that was trying to take over the game, but he needed help. Sometimes when you have a game like this for Kawhi Leonard, yes, he scored a lot of points, but no one else was involved. You got to get back to getting other guys involved where they feel like they're a part of the offense. This was the same mantra we used to use as far as when I played against Kobe Bryant. If Kobe is shooting all the shots, Derek Fisher doesn't have a rhythm, others don't have a rhythm, and that's what you want more than anything else when you're looking at going in on the road and getting victories from another team.
All right, great stuff, Bruce. Thanks so much for joining us. And Greeny, it's interesting. Bruce is bringing up that maybe Kawhi should get more people involved. We kind of seem to think that those guys need to step up. What do you guys think over there?
Well, it's an interesting way of looking at it. And I want to go all the way back to the very beginning of the conversation. Sometimes the people who speak the fewest words say the simplest things. He said, if you don't make any baskets, you're not going to win any games. Kawhi Leonard said that. Was that on him or was that on his supporting cast?
I think that's on the entire team. Yeah. You know, Kawhi hasn't been known to be this great facilitator within the offense. Kawhi has always been able to go out and get Kawhi's buckets. But this comes down to defense. And I would agree with what Bruce said. The sense of urgency that Golden State had on defense was what Toronto had on defense the first game. But you can't allow a team to go on an 18-0 run to start the third. That's what got them back in the game.
So, DJ, as a guy who played in the league a long time and coached a long time, when that thing starts snowballing like it does, again, this was the biggest run to start a half since the merger that the Warriors went on, this 18-0 run. What does it feel like? What are you doing?
You feel helpless as a coach because he took 2 timeouts. You only get 4.5. Okay, so if you use 2 timeouts right there in that third quarter, now you have to figure out a way to get to that fourth quarter in the end of game to save your 2 timeouts just in case it's a close game.
Was there anything that you saw they could have done, should have done that they did not?
Well, I think in the timeout, he should have said to Kawhi Leonard or Pascal Siakam or Van Vliet, take the ball, run it to the basket, and try to get a layup or a foul. You have to get to the free throw line or you have to get a bucket at that point in time when a team then ran off 18 points against you.
How healthy does Kawhi Leonard look to you right now?
He doesn't look healthy at all because I think a healthy Kawhi Leonard would give Draymond Green fits offensively. But I like the fact that Draymond Green is playing off him a little bit and all that. He's not great at moving laterally, and Kawhi knows that Draymond knows that his mid-range game is so on point. Every time he feels like he takes a couple of dribbles, you'll see Draymond start to press up on him a little bit and force him to drive all the way to the rim. It's a great psychological game that Draymond's playing.
And look, at a time when everything is a referendum on everything, I heard a lot of sort of just chatter on social media after the game. Oh, Kawhi will definitely leave now. He played this big game. No one helped him. This is why he's going to the Clippers.
If he wins the championship, he's leaving. If he loses the championship, he's leaving. He's leaving. He's leaving.
Is that the way you see it, too?
I do, but, I mean, some people say he's going to take a shorter deal in Toronto, maybe a 1-and-1 and see how it works out. But, you know, I'm under the impression that he's going to leave and get out to Southern California and enjoy the palm trees and being with, you know, Doc Rivers and Jerry West
and all the mojitos that you were so excited about. Right?
Mojitos with the palm trees.
And look, that's no offense to Toronto, but like you want to have your own destiny in your hands. He was traded to Toronto.
Yeah.
Now it's a chance to say, this is where I want to go.
Maybe if he wins a championship, it'll change a little bit of that. We will see. In the meantime, a reminder that Game 3 of the series is Wednesday. The scene shifts to Oakland. Wednesday on ABC and the ESPN app. Again, tied at 1 game apiece. Coverage will begin with NBA Countdown, 8:30 Eastern. You can